Hello everybody, today I want to talk about chaotic households and what impact that has on our children that we've adopted and fostered. So it does link very heavily to neglect, and there are a couple of videos that I've done recently on that, so I thought I'd do this one as well. So our boys came from a very chaotic household. We know that from the reports that we had, the way that they were living, what they had, what they didn't have provided for them. So a day would look like no structure. So no particular meal times, maybe not knowing where the food is going to come from, probably not knowing where a bed is, not having a bed to lay down on, and more than likely just kept up with the parents and then dropping to sleep wherever they dropped to sleep. And just all the days would roll into one, no play structure, not necessarily going out anywhere, and if they did it would be random, not having the experiences to help them develop as younger children. So that's sad, but that's the reality of it. And a chaotic household has impact on children as they develop, but also as they get older as well. So let me just go through some of the things that I've experienced with my boys about what having that chaotic household would have affected the way they look at things now. So the first thing is sometimes when they have been very down, confused, or they've felt vulnerable, they will try to replicate that chaos. Now, I've noticed that more in one son than the other, but when they first came, then they were chaotic. And you felt that that was being brought into the home. So like it would be sort of from one thing to another thing to another thing, and maybe ask for something and then move onto something else. Now, that was noticeable when they first came. And I notice with my son now that if he is in a bad place, then the first thing I notice about him is chaotic behaviour. It's almost like it's being replicated all over again. So he'll come home and he'll ask a question. He won't wait for the answer. He'll go to the cupboard. He'll do this. He'll do that. And he's kind of really chaotic. So that's the first thing. They can kind of replicate what they'd experienced earlier on. The other thing that I've noticed about both my sons is change. They would prefer none. No change at all. So they would want everything the same in their rooms, to the point that I know there are children, so I just want to point out, I know there are children that do all of the things that I'm going to say to you, and they haven't come from trauma, adoption or fostering. I've got 5 birth children, so I know that this is not isolated just to my boys. I know that. Sorry, sometimes I feel like I just need to see myself. Right, okay, yeah. But I find that with them, everything kind of needs to stay the same in the rooms. So they might add stuff to it, they might add stuff to the shelves. But if I go in there and say, right, we're going to have a clean, and then we're maybe going to move things around a little bit because this is getting in the way, or you can't open that cupboard door because you put all that stuff there. That's a very, very, very hard thing for both of the boys to accept, that there might be a better way to organise that room. They really can't do that. And one of them in particular will add stuff. So again, I believe that living in chaos when they were younger and being neglected, the two things kind of went hand in hand for them, is that adding stuff for him to look at in a certain place, in a certain order, is giving him some sort of comfort from being all those years ago, because we had them when they were really young as foster children. So all those years ago when nothing was predictable, everything was all over the place and nothing really was provided. So they want to keep their stuff close and where they can see it, in a particular place, in a particular order. And that definitely moves on down. And I've spoken about this so much about them wanting a very, very, very strict routine. Very strict routine. In fact, if you try and break that routine with them, then they will challenge you, which is so strange. So they've got a bedtime, and to be honest, it's getting to the point where it's going to need to be reviewed. If they thought we'd forgotten about the bedtime, they might kind of enjoy that fact. But if we suddenly said, right, the bedtime is now going to be with no explanation, and they got longer, they would challenge that. Well, it's normally this, so why are you changing it? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Because it's different. And I said on one of my videos recently that I felt that I'd had a real disconnect with one of my sons because the way that we cuddled for a long time in a certain way and did things in a certain order at night, I changed it up and said, I think you're getting a bit older, we need to change it up, and I don't think you like that. So yeah, predictability. When are we going to get fed? When are we going to bed? When are people coming? When are people leaving? Where is my stuff? Why isn't it in the same place? All of that. Predictability. And another thing, one of the major things, okay, so I say this is one of the major things that chaos brings. If a child is living in a chaotic family where parents are not providing any routine, structure, boundaries, food, play, any of that, is, or an adult then never can. You have to prove yourself time and time again to be different from that. Because often my boys will seek out support from each other, even though they don't get on. They really don't get on. If things have changed in the house, so say my husband and I have nipped out to go and do something. Now they're 14 and 15, so for us to go out for an hour is no big deal. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a big deal. Or say that we've asked for someone to come in and sit with them, or we need to quickly go to the shop, and it's a little bit out of the ordinary. By the time we come back, I'll be very surprised if they haven't sort of huddled together in a weird way. It may be that if they're gaming or on their phones, they may not do that right away, but they will start drawing toward each other in that time. So when we come back, I wouldn't be surprised if they haven't started gaming together, or they're not doing something in the kitchen together, or one of them's not in the other one's bedroom. It's like a security blanket for them of the feeling of like, oh, something's different, something's changed. The parents have gone out for a bit, or someone's coming to sit with us for a bit, or something different is happening for tea. They start seeking each other out because it brings that whole feeling of adults cannot be trusted to support us in the right way. Let's just make sure we have each other. So those are just a few things actually about what chaos brings. And so what we do in our house is we provide predictability. 100%. If we're not going to do that, we explain to them why we're not going to do that. Sorry, I just want to see again. Occasionally, we will introduce something new and different and build it into the routine and try something different, because otherwise we are stuck with the same thing all the time, and that's the way they'd want it well into adulthood. So we don't want to do that. Obviously, we don't want them to be so stuck in their ways that they cannot adapt. So we will provide predictability, but with some changes from time to time. And we always just make sure that they know that we're always here for them, and we're here a lot for them. So I hope that helps you. I hope that helps you to have a little flavour about chaos and what it can do to a child. And I hope that you will subscribe if you haven't already, and become a member. I have 4 members, so become a member and I can do some extra videos for you too. Thank you for watching Fly Little Birds.